welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Burkle, here with the host today, Aaron. Go ahead and say hi, Aaron.
Hi.
All right, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So, in this video, we'll be talking about the most recent buzz coming out of the head coaching circuit, both acquisitions and firings. Mainly acquisitions, and who has been acquired by what teams and what teams still need to acquire who. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start looking at these teams. Starting off with the Seattle Seahawks, who kind of, sort of fired Pete Carroll, sort of, kind of. Fired him upward, demoted him upward to, what is it, like a associate GM or something like that. I don't know what he is.
I don't know, but he's looking for a head coaching job somewhere, I believe.
Oh, is he? He
latest
wants to
buzz.
get.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't want to
So
stay.
he essentially got fired.
Okay, so yeah, he got fired then, January 10th, from the looks of it. Some people being tied with this job. I mean, really, the only person I've heard that's kind of tied to this job is Dan Quinn. Him having history there with the Seahawks as the defensive coordinator during the Legion of Boom era. What are your thoughts on the Seahawks opening and potentially Dan Quinn being the favorite for that job?
Well, I think it kind of depends on their thoughts of Dan Quinn, and I don't know if that last game sort of affected those thoughts with the disappointing loss to the Packers and the disappointing end of the Cowboys season. But, I mean, it's kind of a tricky situation you're kind of going into with not necessarily the best defense, and you've got maybe some questions at quarterback if you're the new head coach. Drew Lock, Geno Smith, or do you go after somebody else, try and move up in the draft, or what? But, I mean, you got DK Metcalf, who's solid receiver, and Tyler Lockett, he's getting older, so they're gonna have to find some weapons for whatever quarterback they decide to go to. So I think
They got
it's
Smith and Jigba.
maybe not the most.
DK.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about Njigba. So that's a solid receiving core, but they've got some things or some decisions to make once they get hired. So I don't think it's too bad of a job, actually.
No, I think it's one of the better jobs out of the ones that haven't been filled yet. It's one of the better jobs available. Probably second behind Atlanta out of the ones that haven't been filled, in my opinion. A couple of the other guys that are kind of in the mix. Looks like the Seahawks have interviewed Rams DC Raheem Morris, Giants OC Mike Kafka, and Panthers DC Ajiro Evero. How pronounces the first name? I hope I didn't butcher that. If I did, I apologize.
Ajiro, yeah. Well, your guess is as good as mine.
Ajiro Evero. Yeah, again, if I butchered that, my apologies. But these are all kind of interesting choices to me. I mean, Raheem Morris, maybe not so much, because the Rams' defense was pretty decent this year. The Giants OC with Mike Kafka. I mean, the Giants' offense was abysmal this year, so that's a little weird. Granted, he did what he could with Tommy DeVito, but
abysmal with whoever they put at quarterback.
Right? Yeah, like they weren't good regardless. And then the Panthers, don't even get me started. So, what are kind of your thoughts?
Dable's the play caller, though, right?
Do what?
Dable's the play caller.
Oh,
though, right?
Daboll, yeah, I would assume so. I think he is. So I guess maybe that's not Kafka's fault. Maybe Kafka's a really good locker room guy, a good player coach. That would be my assumption with these three guys. Is they're real. I know Raheem Morris. I'm pretty sure I've heard that he's a really good player coach. I think he did play, if I'm not mistaken. So that always helps, of course. So yeah, I mean, I would have to assume that that's kind of the mentality that the Seahawks are going with here. They seem to be going with more energy candidates than they are maybe X's and O's. Is that kind of what vibe you're getting?
I don't know what they're looking for. I don't know why you'd get rid of Pete Carroll with the success he's had. And
Yeah.
maybe they just felt it was time for a change. But
Yeah.
and I mean, I guess maybe that explains why they're not going after like a Bill Belichick. They just want to go younger, I
Yeah.
suppose.
That's what it seems. That's what it seems. Which Dan Quinn may be out of the question then, and if that's the case. So, moving on to our next team, we got. It's just no. The Panthers is the worst job available, right? The Commanders is better than the Panthers job. We got the Washington Commanders.
Well, with the old owner, it's up for debate.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. That is true. With the old Commanders owner, it's probably a toss-up. However, the Panthers owner has good old Tepper has
How's a temper?
ran away with biggest POS owner in the league. So, congrats to you on that award. We'll get to your team here in a second, but as for the Commanders, new ownership in place. They decided it was time for a change at the head coaching position. Probably, in my opinion, I don't think Rivera should have ever been brought in the first place. But I think he should. I think the Panthers. He should have just retired right then and there. I don't think he needed to stick around any longer. But that's just my opinion. I think what at least some Chiefs fans were kind of thinking might happen. If Rivera were to get fired this year, at least me, I thought that the reason Bieniemy left was because he was in line to be the successor. That doesn't seem to be the case.
That might have been. I mean, he wasn't brought in under this regime, though. You have to remember that.
And that could be why they aren't going that
Which,
direction.
speaking of, I haven't heard his name at all for any
I haven't
coaching
either.
candidacy.
Do you think? Well,
That's all anybody could talk about when he was with the Chiefs the last 2-3 years.
yeah, and I mean he did. I mean, you got to give him credit for what he was able to do with Sam Howell. I mean, that offense was pretty successful for the first 10 weeks of the year until Sam Howell's wheels fell off. But yeah, it is really interesting. Do you think there's maybe potential him coming back to Kansas City next year?
I hope so. God, I hope so. I never
Yeah.
thought I'd say it because I thought he was sort of the problem,
Yeah.
but he's not. He is the solution to all of our offensive woes. Please, I am down on my knees begging you, Eric Bieniemy, please come back.
Okay.
Get Nagy out.
Yeah, Nagy's bad. That's for sure. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, Washington, they've got a lot of problems. They've got a good pick in the draft. I think the second overall pick in the draft. Um, they've got a decent receiving core with Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson
Curtis Samuel
Jr.
still?
Do what? Oh, Curtis Samuel, yeah. They
Yeah.
got Brian Robinson Jr. out of the backfield and Antonio Gibson, who are both pretty decent. They had a good defense before they traded the entire side of the ball away this year with Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Um, or was it Josh Sweat or Montez Sweat? I think it was Josh Sweat. I don't know where I got Montez from. Um, but yeah, I don't really know where you go from here as a head coach. I mean, you would think they you draft your quarterback, right? That's got to be step number one is you draft your quarterback. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, whichever one of those three you're able to get and you want, because you have the choice between two of them. Get him, start grooming him to be the next big thing in Washington, and then go from there.
I don't know if you could say that anymore.
Even in this context?
No,
Well, disregard that. Who do you think are some top candidates maybe in line for this Washington job?
I don't know. I mean, this is a completely new ownership group. I would expect a full turnover, especially if you get the chance to get your quarterback. I'm sure that's probably what they're looking most into, asking their candidates what quarterback might interest them, seeing if they're kind of on the same page and whatnot, because I'm sure that's very important.
Yeah,
You
would hope.
I don't know. I think Vrabel is a good candidate for any job. Um, but
And
I
it's
don't know what they're thinking.
it's oddly starting to look like Vrabel's opportunities are starting to dry up. As weird as it is, with I don't know if he was going to get the Raiders job over Pierce. I think the team liked him too much, liked Pierce too much. Um, but with Harbaugh, which we'll get to him in a little bit, with Harbaugh taking the Chargers job, that was a big one Vrabel might have wanted. With Belichick sniffing around Atlanta.
I'm so glad. We'll get to that later, but I'm so glad.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know who's maybe the best choice for Washington. I think you probably go OC though, in my opinion. Get somebody offensive minded in there with that rookie quarterback and try to build that rapport early in his career. Maybe get that sort of chemistry that like an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have, or a Lamar and Harbaugh have. Try to get that early. Develop it early. That way, that connection can lead you to success 5 years down the line and beyond. So whatever you do, I'd say go offensive minded. But other than that, I don't really know. Washington. On to Atlanta. Arthur Smith finally, by the grace of God, got fired. Like, I don't like saying people should lose their jobs, but when you don't utilize Kyle Pitts, Drake London, or Bijan Robinson, you should lose your job. For goodness sakes, Kyle Pitts going his entire rookie year without a touchdown is ridiculous. Bijan Robinson not being really utilized until week 10 of his rookie season, ridiculous. Drake
He
London
had headaches.
not being a top 15 wide receiver at this point in his career, a little ridiculous. He's got all the tools to do it. You just got to get him the opportunities. Doesn't help that you have a quarterback of Desmond Ritter, quarterback combination of Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke. But if you've got players look at the Niners. You got players like Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. You're getting them all three of the ball. Hopefully Atlanta can get a quarterback this year, whether it's trading up for one of the Bears picks or maybe trading for Justin Fields. I think that would be really interesting. All signs, in my opinion, point to Belichick taking this job. What are your thoughts? It looks like other people, I think Ben Johnson, the coordinator for Philadelphia. I think he's been asked to interview for Atlanta. Looks like Raheem Morris, the Rams DC, is also.
Ben Johnson's with the Lions.
Oh, Ben Johnson's with the Lions, not the Eagles. Yeah, they've been asked to interview, I believe, with the Falcons. Looks like Vrabel's expected to interview this week. So that's 14 different people. There's 14 different people that the Falcons will have talked to by the end of this week. So they're doing their due diligence. Credit to them. I think they're tired of seeing the talent wasted on that roster. What are your thoughts of the Atlanta job?
I mean, I think, like I said, Vrabel's a good pick anywhere. So I'm just assume that is my top pick. But they've interviewed Belichick twice.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good fit. Kind of like you brought up, maybe trade for Justin Fields or get a quarterback in because they've got the talent around a quarterback that could work, and they've got a decent defense. So I think that might be a good spot for Bill.
Yeah. Moving on to a spot that would be terrible for Bill, Carolina.
Terrible for anybody.
Terrible for anybody. The worst job available by far. Fired Frank Wright middle of the season after going 1-10. Team owner David Tepper, known as one of the biggest assholes out of any of the owners in the league. Roster is atrocious. May have fumbled last year's first-round pick. Number 1 overall pick. Recently traded. In fact, in order to get last year's number 1 overall pick, they traded what ended up being this year's number 1 overall pick and DJ Moore for it. They've interviewed some people. Ben Johnson once again comes up. Ajiro Evero, Rams DC, Raheem Morris again. Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, and the Bucks OC Dave Canellis. I feel sorry for whatever sad sack has to pick this Carolina job. They went one and what was their record again? Like two and something, three and something, whatever the record was. I mean, if you win 5 games next year, that's an improvement. So maybe that's how the head coach has to come in and look at it. Uh, I don't know. What does Carolina do?
Well, it might end up being Tepper as the head coach if he can't
That
find anybody willing to deal
oh,
with him. But
could you
I mean,
imagine?
if it were me, I would look at this as a long term sort of place with the spot that they're in. Maybe look at it as a hey, pay me some money to coach this disaster of a team and then fire me after 2 years.
Yeah.
That's it's just not a good situation.
Oh, Brian Callahan's the one that took the job with the Titans. So sorry about you, Carolina. Yeah, you're not getting him. That'll be interesting, Brian. So let's go ahead and talk about let's go ahead and speed run the ones that have been filled. Starting with Brian Callahan filling in the head coaching job for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, he had a lot of success with Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense throughout the last 5 seasons, from the looks of it. Um, Maybe he can come in and unlock Will Levis's potential. They probably need to bring in some more weapons for Will Levis to throw to. You also assume that Derrick Henry's out the door. So hopefully the other dude. What was the other running back's name? I forget his name. Whatever his name is. You hope he can step up and be really kind of take charge as a lead running back for that team. Hang on, I'm gonna pull up his name because it's bothering me. His name is Tyjae Spears. That's right, Spears. Uh, he had a pretty decent. I think he was a rookie this year. He had a pretty decent season. In Derrick Henry's stead. So you hope he can. Now that he's going to be asked to probably be the lead guy going forward, you hope he can continue that success. But what are your thoughts on Brian Callahan joining the Tennessee Titans?
I mean, he went from. I mean, it's a step up going from an OC to head coach,
Right.
undoubtedly. But he went from being in your dream situation with a great quarterback and great weapons to what could be is an unproven quarterback, quite frankly, and very few weapons, especially with Henry leaving. So they're going to have to completely revamp that offense, pretty much. So he's got his work cut out for him, but I don't know what their cap situation looks like for this offseason, whether they can bring in some free agents or not. But I don't think it's a bad organization to be with necessarily.
Yeah. Um, Before we get into the big kahuna, the big fish of this video, we'll just quickly go over the Raiders and Patriots in congruency. Um, if that's the correct word to use there, we're not sure. Um, Raiders fired
Almost.
Josh McDaniel midseason, stuck with their interim Antonio Pierce. Patriots also going with an internal hire after firing Bill Belichick. It says agreed to part ways. That's cute. Going with Gerard Mayo. Uh, Both of these teams far from success right now. Both of these teams need a franchise quarterback. Uh, both of these
You don't think
teams,
Aiden O'Connell's it?
I do not. Both of these teams are in divisions with future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I don't really see a path to success for either of these teams anytime soon. Um,
With multiple Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Probably both of them.
Both of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, probably both of them. Yeah, I don't see. I guess Aaron Rodgers is technically in their division. I forgot about that. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Tua. I was like, maybe. I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
oh, I did not. I
uh,
mean, I'm sure he will, but
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, anything to add on these two hires? I mean, I don't really. Antonio Pierce. I'm glad the Raiders went back and fixed the mistake they made a few years ago, where they should have kept Rick Bisaccia. Um, so they kind of, in a way, went back and tried to be forgiven for their sins. So I credit them for that. I don't know how well this
being forgiven for their sins in Sin City.
in Sin City. Uh, I don't know how well this Gerard Mayo hire is going to work out, but apparently this has been in the works for a couple years from the sounds of it. So yeah, do you have anything to add?
I don't really know a whole lot about the Gerard Mayo situation. Kind of a weird opening press conference that they had, but
Yeah, it was strange. I don't want to get
I
into it
think
though.
I think the Antonio Pierce hires is the right hire for them. When you literally have players, especially one of your best players, Max Crosby,
Yeah,
saying if you don't hire this guy, I'm gonna ask for a trade. That's probably a pretty big indicator that they like him at least, and then he
maybe a
knows
little.
at least somewhat what he's talking about. So, um, I think that's the right hire that they made there.
And finally, uh, hoping anybody who stuck around this long isn't too mad because this is probably what's going to be on the thumbnail and the title, and we saved it till the very end of the video, so sorry about that. But Jim Harbaugh, new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, heading down to L.A. to coach Justin Herbert and the rest of the boys. Obviously, just won a national championship with the University of Michigan, has made a Super Bowl in the past with the San Francisco 49ers, is a really good head coach. Both vibes-wise, he seems to also know what he's talking about as far as X's and O's. As a Chiefs fan, does this make you nervous, Jim Harbaugh coming into the division and arguably taking over what is arguably probably the most talented team outside of the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West?
I think as a Chiefs fan, sort of the three names we're hearing, this is kind of the second, you know, one that I'm fine with. I think I would have preferred, shockingly, Bill,
Bill,
because
Bill, Bill.
you know he's older and he wouldn't have spent
You
as
wanna
much time, so then they would have been back in the coaching carousel sooner. So whatever success they would have had between now and then,
you wanna
whatever.
yeah, this will this will
Um,
this will be an old Jim
Harbaugh,
for
on the other hand, I don't think I'm as sold on him as others are. Uh, Vrabel was the one that scared me the most of the big names, kind of.
yeah.
So I'm happy it's not him, but I'm sure they're excited to have Harbaugh. I just think back to the whole 49ers situation and how that uh, ultimately ended. But I mean, I guess we'll just have to see if he's learned anything. I'm sure he has, and if he can sort of bring that success that he's had in college up to back to the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. A cool little callback since you brought up Bill joining division. This actually made me think of we were talking about this yesterday. Looking over some of our most popular shorts on YouTube. I'd love to beat up on an old man twice a year, but a little callback to when we thought Tom Brady might join the Raiders. So if Bill had joined the Chargers, that would have been great for me to just do the same exact. Ah, man, I wish. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm a little nervous. Jim Harbaugh's really, really good. He's really good. And obviously, the thing that's held back the Chargers for the last 5 years or so is coaching. They've had the talent. No one's denied him that. Justin Herbert's top 10, probably, quarterback in the league. Receiver core when Mike Williams is healthy and
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, thank you, geez. And Keenan Allen, when they're both healthy, one of the better receiving duos in the league. You know, defense, you got.
How often are they healthy together though?
That's true. That's another big issue. It's coaching and health. That's been the two biggest issues. Which, who knows? That could go hand in hand. Maybe Brandon Staley was too hard on him in practice. I don't know. Could be
Beating them up in the locker room.
Yeah. Like you cost me my job, man. You're costing me my job. Something. Probably did that to Quentin Johnston a few times this year with those drops. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Costing me my job, man. Oh, but yeah, I'm a little nervous to say the least. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But unless you got anything else, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Circleberg-Burkle. Here with my co-host today, Aaron. Go ahead and say bye, Aaron.
Bye.
All right. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Other than that,